Hey guys, it's IOGuard here. So iPad mini 7, you wonder? We live in hope. The iPad mini line has been a little quiet since the release of the iPad mini 6. The last update made the smaller tablet look like an iPad Air, with a sleek new chassis and a new screen with slimmer bezels. There was also a new processor inside in the shape of an A15 Bionic, along with more RAM and a better GPU. It was a lovely upgrade that many appreciated. However, it's showing its age a little now. The iPad mini 6, besides the iPad 9th gen that Apple still sells, for who knows why, remains the oldest iPad model that you can buy brand new today. Surely an update is in the works. Online whisperings could paint a picture of what we might see from it. The iPad mini 6 was announced back on September 24, 2021. Around 2.5 years after the iPad mini 5 was announced. That makes now the perfect time for some news about the iPad mini 7 if a set timeline is being followed. The iPad mini isn't released in the same manner as the rest of the iPad lineup, which makes it trickier to predict. While the iPad Pro models receive yearly updates, the iPad mini has a much less certain schedule. The most reliable update we have about the iPad mini 7 is from renowned analyst Ming-Chi Kuo. In December 2021, Kuo reported that Apple was working on an iPad mini and that it would be coming at the end of 2023. iPad mini received was a big shakeup. It's unlikely that the next one is going to be a groundbreaking release. Instead, it's likely to be more of an iterative update. The iPad mini lacks a smart connector like the bigger iPad models, and if Apple were to add one to the next iPad mini, it would bring its feature set in line. Such a connector would mean you could hook up a keyboard like you can with the iPad Pro or the iPad 10th gen. You could also count on Apple making special attachments to make use of the potential new functionality. New processor. There are a couple of different ways that the iPad mini might go with the processor. While we have some inkling that the processor is going to be the biggest part of the update according to the Ming-Chi Kuo report, it seems like there are two key directions that Apple could go. The first is the easiest option, sticking the equivalent phone chip of the time inside the tablet. The previous iPad mini had the A15 from the then new iPhone 13, so if we're looking at a late 2023 release window, that could be an A17 chip likely to be seen on the iPhone 15. Alternatively, we could see an M1 chip in the iPad mini. That way, it would become a shrunk-down version of the iPad Air, allowing for more features to be used. It could make Stage Manager possible, for instance, which is currently only really seen on the iPad Pro and Air. There is another option, however. Twitter user @Frontrun shared a discussion from a Korean forum that the chip in the iPad mini 7 could be a beefed-up A15 chip rather than something new. That would mean that instead of the slightly depowered iPhone chip like in the iPad mini 6, it would have a boosted clock speed of 3.23 GHz. As a cost-saving measure, this would make sense, although it's worth taking this rumor with a grain of salt, as while Frontrun is reliable, his source might not be. The iPad mini 6 cost a lot more than the iPad mini 5, so it's unlikely we'll see much of a price increase with the iPad mini 7. Apple tends to increase prices substantially when it's revamped, something like with the iPad 10th gen, with iterative updates generally costing similar to the previous model. If that remains the case, the iPad mini 7 would retail from around $499, increasing for greater storage options and the cellular versions. iPad mini 7. A smart keyboard like one you see for the iPad Pro would be useful, and could turn the iPad mini into a highly portable mini laptop. We still don't know when the next iPad mini will come out, but it might still be worth waiting. The timeline makes sense to hold fire. Alternatively, you could opt for an iPad Air, although you'll miss out on the smaller form factor. Please subscribe to my channel. Inshallah, I will see you in the next video.